Today we have the wonderful Fi Similar. She weaves together her social media, content strategy, and marketing expertise to connect her clients to their ideal audiences and help their businesses grow consistently, month after month. Today is all about Instagram. She will include us on some of her best kept secrets to busting Instagram myths, captions and content, and her 10 top algorithm tips. So let's all welcome Fi. Welcome, and you can get started.
Okay, lovely. Thank you guys for having me. I'm going to go ahead and get started here. I'm going to share my screen. So thank you for Fi Yogi for having me, and thanks for everyone for being here. I'm going to go ahead and jump right in and share with y'all my screen here. And I love a slideshow, so we're going to just go through here. So if you would just, you can have your devices nearby, but put them face down. You can just take a minute. We're going to take a breath together, and I want you to come into this space, like you're coming into like a yoga class, right? If you're standing, if you're sitting, if you're on the floor, just feel grounded wherever you are. You can close the eyes or relax the gaze. And I want you to imagine feeling confident talking about your business. I want you to imagine becoming known as a go-to expert with whatever you offer people. I want you to imagine getting consistent positive feedback from your dream clients and waking up to messages from people who can't wait to work with you. So just breathe that in. And if you have any expectations about social media or anything negative floating around, I want you to let that go on your out breath. So we're just going to take a minute and ground in here and become present. So you can open the eyes and welcome. I know that all of that we just talked about is possible because of the magic of strategic social media. So again, I'm Fi Similar. I got my yoga certification in 2016, and I've been a marketing expert since 2014. And Instagram is what I specialize in, along with content, social media, and just business coaching and consulting for my clients. So today we're going to discuss Instagram for yogis, building your presence on Instagram to grow your business. So again, you can connect with me at Shaky Yogi on all of social media, and that's me doing what I normally do and talking with my hands. So you are here because you want info on how the algorithm actually works, how to make your Instagram growth happen as fast and as easily as possible, and you want to know the best kept secrets that social media experts know. So we will go ahead and discuss that today. So for today's agenda, we're going to start with busting some Instagram myths. Then I will talk about captions and content and my top 10 algorithm tips. At the end, we'll have a Q&A, and I will be happy to take any questions that you have. So let's jump right in. There are a lot of Instagram myths floating around, and I have like big feelings about that. So I want to bust some myths for you today. So myth number one, and I've seen pretty much all of these in a post. Instagram only shows your post to 7% of your followers. That is absolutely not true. What sometimes happens is that people have, for lack of a better word, like crappy engagement. So you put stuff out there, but no one really like comments. You don't get a lot of DMs. You don't get a lot of likes, even though you may have either a good amount of followers or that you're being consistent, and you might feel like you're spinning your wheels. So I will help give you some tips throughout the workshop to help you with that. But there is no certain like percentage of followers that Instagram will show your content to. It really depends on a few things. One, Instagram has over 1 billion users now, so there's a lot more on someone's timeline versus like 2012 when there were just less users. So there's more competition for who sees what, just because of the sheer amount of numbers. And, if you have engagement that you can improve, then there's some ways to do that. Okay. Myth number 2 is that you should only use really big and popular hashtags. So the way that hashtags work is basically like it categorizes your posts, right? So really big hashtags, I think the last time I checked for like hashtag yoga was something like, I don't know, 80 like million. So if you use that, the possibility that you land as one of like the top 9 for that hashtag is very, very small unless you have a huge account. Second, in the recents tab, like if you look up hashtags and you look up the most recent posts that have used that hashtag, you might only appear there for like 3 minutes. So what I would do instead is use smaller hashtags. So everybody has a slightly different hashtag strategy, but mine personally is to use hashtags between like 20,000 and like 100,000. That's usually like my sweet spot. I have about 2,000 followers. They're all like pretty engaged because this is what I specialize in. But that's what I would recommend for you. So instead of saying like hashtag yoga, maybe use like hashtag Iyengar yoga or hashtag, yoga for back pain, something like that. If you want, there is a website called flick.tech, Flick like Flick. It's a great tool. There's a 7-day trial and it allows you to look up hashtags to see what's competitive, what's not as competitive, what like some related hashtags. If you want to search one, it'll show up what's related. So it's a good tool for you. Or you can just do it through Instagram. Okay, myth number 3 is that personal accounts are favored over business accounts. That's not true. I check the news on like one account every day and it will show up like towards the top of my feed always. Just because I engage with that account a lot and I see their story a lot. I've commented before, I've sent it to a friend maybe in my DM. So that's not true. What Instagram does is like the algorithm the formula is like, it's basically trying to feed you content that keeps you on Instagram for as long as possible, because that's how Instagram makes money. Because the longer you're on, the more likely you are to see ads, and the more likely you are to buy something through the ad that, they get paid through their advertisers. It's a free tool for us. So typically, if you have like family members or friends, you're engaging a lot with them, and that's what will show up towards the top of your feed. However, business accounts can definitely make it there to the top of your feed as well, just because you're interested and you find it useful and you engage. Okay, myth number 4 is there is like a perfect formula for a cold pitch DM. There is not. Cold pitch DMs, I'm sure you've gotten them. I've gotten them. It's like, hey, you want to like, use our supplement? It's like out of nowhere. What you need to do is you need to build rapport with your followers in order to get them to when you think about like a customer journey, which is like a fancy marketing term, you want them to go from the cold buyer status of like just coming across your Instagram profile, hitting that follow button because they think you're interesting enough, and then you nurture them. You provide you exchange they pay you in attention and you pay them in useful, inspiring, or educational content. And once you've built that rapport and you have genuinely gotten to know your community, then you can offer your workshop, your new series, and that's when someone, because they trust you, is ready perhaps to buy. So there is no magic formula. Cold pitch DMs don't really work. So don't waste your time. Instead, in your DMs, just send messages to people. If you find like their story is really funny, or you like their dog, or tell them congrats, like interact in a way that you normally would. And remember that there's real people behind their screen names and that you just want to genuinely get to know them. Okay, myth number 5, you should post every day. You absolutely do not need to. I would recommend like every other day, like 3 times a week is probably doable for most people who have lives. When Instagram first rolled out Reels, they gathered influencers. This was like August 6th of last year was when they rolled out Reels, and they said ideally post 4 to 7 Reels a week, which is like crazy. Like, who has time for that? So I say like 3 posts a week is totally like doable. And 2 to 3, that's probably a good starting point. If you want to post more, I would say like every other day works fine. But if you post every day, you're essentially you're like competing with your own posts, because the average lifespan of an Instagram post is like 36 hours. So you are giving people too many options for like what to like and interact with if they're like, overlapping as far as like what shows up at what time for your followers. Okay. Lizzie, are there any questions that I should answer at this point?
Yeah, there are a few questions that have come in directly about these topics that you were talking about, but let me look. I wrote a few down. So one of the questions came in. What are your thoughts, suggestions on having one Instagram, your personal and brand, instead of two for personal and then one for brand?
So personally, I have a personal Instagram that's private that I will share like family pictures and stuff with like my friends. And then I have my public business account that, I actually spend more time on that working because it's my business. So if you want to, you can absolutely separate your accounts. Also, I would recommend it because in the terms of like, doom scrolling or like, just scrolling, like when you catch yourself like scrolling on Instagram mindlessly, you don't want to hop on Instagram to do something for business and then all of a sudden you're like in a hole because you get distracted by like your friends from college or something. So it's good to separate it, in my opinion, because when you're on business, you can stay focused and do whatever you need to do for business. But for some people, just having one Instagram account where they can share some personal stuff, which is totally okay as a business owner. I would not air your grievances or dirty laundry, but definitely you can post your personal life, like that you're taking a day off or that you went on vacation. If it's easier for you to just have the one account, then have the one account, just whatever works for you.
Great answer. Another question came in from Joe. Is it true that only comments with 4+ real words, so real words, not emojis, help you post, help your post be seen by others?
Short answer, no. So a comment is a comment. However, I think maybe it was Jasmine Star that said that. But comments with 4 or more words are usually comments that are more like real versus like just putting a heart. Like they give the person that you're commenting on like, something more personalized and more thoughtful. And that's probably why she or the suggestion out there is that 4 or more words is a good starting point, but it's not like there's not like an algorithmic rule that says 4 words. I would just, the best comments are like authentic and thoughtful.
Mm-hmm. And then last question for now. This is something that I've actually Googled and tried to research, and there's so much about it. It's about hashtags. So how many hashtags for a post? Andrea said, I read somewhere only 15 is okay.
Okay. Yes, I've also read that like 10 is okay. I put 30 hashtags for all of my posts. And when I started doing it, it made a difference. I saw that I was ranking just because you're doing more and hashtags are strategic. I will say that like hashtags are not what's going to make or break your Instagram account. So have that be a little bit lower on your priorities list. Your priority is to make content that is useful, inspirational, educational, entertaining for your audience and to connect with them authentically. That's my priority when I teach my one-on-ones, when I teach a workshop like this, like have that, like be heart-centered when you're on Instagram. But hashtags could make a difference. It's just another way to rank your posts. So here's what I do. I put 27 hashtags like in my notes or on my computer somewhere that's easily accessible. And I will use the same like 27 hashtags for basically everything I post. The last three I will put as like, what specifically that post is about. So if I'm talking really specifically about like content strategy or monetizing your Instagram, I might use a hashtag that's like hashtag Instagram content strategy. And so I will save the last three for like hyper specific to that post that still have, that are still big enough, that are over 20,000 hits. I would not use the exact same 30 hashtags for every single post because Instagram like thinks it's a little spammy, and you just want to write out your hashtags like as if you were a human. Like not every single post is going to be the exact same thing, so you want to just like switch them a little bit. Does that make sense?
Yes, makes sense. There one more question about hashtags specifically. So people either put them in the caption, but there's also been articles in the comment section. So is there a preference? Does Instagram see it a certain way?
Instagram does not see it as a different, like in a different way. So any hashtags in comments will also count, that post will also count as those hashtags unless you put 30 hashtags in your post and then someone comments like 5 more comments, that's over 30 hashtags. So that will be discarded in Instagram's like brain. Sorry, I got distracted. Tell me, repeat the question one more time.
You're fine. It's about hashtags and so Abra, excuse me if I've seen the hashtags posted in the caption versus in the comments.
Okay, personally, I put my hashtags in the same, like with my caption. I just will separate them a little bit further down so it'll look cleaner. You can put it as your first comment if you like that, but I would recommend just putting it all together and just making it look neat. Also, if you have like a really large account, putting it as your first comment, like someone might beat you to the first comment if you have like a large account and people are like automatically commenting as soon as you post. You might like they might be faster than you. But I know like with Planoly and Later, which are tools to plan your Instagram posts, you have the option, at least with Planoly, I believe, to put it automatically as your first comment. But that's just, that's like a problem if you have a very large account. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it.
Okay, so we will get to everyone's questions at the end or later on. So we will let Fi continue on to content and captions.
Perfect. Okay, so I want to start with, everybody wants to grow their Instagram. In 2021, like Reels are absolutely necessary for Instagram if you want to grow your engagement and possibly your followers. This latest like post type, it was, rolled out last year to compete with TikTok. By the way, TikTok has 500 million active users right now. So if you're not on TikTok, I would recommend just trying it out unless you feel overwhelmed by it. Do what you need to do. So I would definitely I actually taught a Reels workshop just last night. I would look into Reels and make them a consistent part of your strategy because you will reap rewards. I actually I had, just very quickly, I had a Reel go viral last week, which was a really interesting and timely because I was, it was a case study for my workshop. I got over 40,000 views for a Reel, which is crazy, or I'm sorry, 14,000 views for a Reel, and I have 2,000 followers. So I would never have been able to get that sort of reach with any other type of post. It blows it out of the water as far as like how Instagram, pushes it out there for people. So not all of my Reels are like that, but I recommend using Reels. So
real quick,
just tell me, yes.
Sorry, can you explain what a Reel is really quickly?
Yeah, so a Reel is a new type of post on Instagram. So you have like photos, videos, you can post a boomerang or an IGTV, but a Reel is essentially a vertical, it's like the same format as a Instagram story. So it's a 9:16 vertical format. And it often has like text boxes and often has music. It's like a little mini 50, up to 30-second video that you can post on Instagram. So it's a new vertical video format that has text and video and music in the same little mini post.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, gotcha. So yeah, just let me know in the chat if you have made reels, and if so, what was your experience, and if not, like what's holding you back? So I'm curious. Just take the temperature and see kind of what people have to say about reels. So I will take a look at the chat in a little bit, but let me get through this section. So basically, like intention plus content strategy equals success. Like the content strategy that I teach my clients is like know, like, trust. And maybe you've seen that, but I like know, like, trust, sell, because it is okay to sell your offers on Instagram. Know that Instagram is a tool for your business and not the other way around. And you want to, leverage your social media for your business. Otherwise, it's going to be just like a very time consuming hobby and not a business tool for you. So keep that in mind. And, to call out people in the wellness industry, a lot of people say, like, I post on Instagram just like whenever it feels good, and like I want to be spontaneous and authentic. Like, you can be authentic and also have a plan. So don't conflate saying I'm trying to be authentic with I don't have a plan. I will say that because I hear that a lot. Okay, so ask yourself these questions about your audience to help you get into their brain and really figure out what content you should be making to give them the most value possible. And at the end of the day, it's your business and you're the boss. But these are some good questions to ask yourself when you are, like, what do I even talk about? Which is something I hear a lot too. Like, what do I even talk about? What do I even say? I'm not interesting enough. Yes, you are. You have plenty to talk about. And here's where you can start. Also, captions nowadays are longer than before. So share your message. You have, like I said, you have something to say. You are an expert in your field, and providing content and doing so in a way that is algorithm friendly. So with reels, knowing what your audience wants, asking questions that make it easy to answer your questions. If you're asking, like, what is your morning routine, or something like that. Maybe you asked a question before in your caption and you haven't gotten a response, but like maybe that question needs to be easier to answer for people to write back. Or maybe your graphics need to be more clear. There's just all these different tweaks that you can make for your social media. So I'm inviting you. What I offer my clients is a 3-hour breakthrough bundle. I am letting you save $75 today. Just put in code YOGI. What we do is we look at who you serve and really nail not just your ideal client and like what they do in their free time, like demographics, but really like get into like their pain points and what keeps them up at night. Like what can you help them with that's really valuable to them. We look at your best platforms, just building that know, like, trust with your audience, and then monetizing your account and making it something that will take people from being followers into clients. And that's ultimately what's going to help you do what you want to do and do it in a way that feels sustainable and, aligned with your business. So I'm offering this to you today, and I'm offering a payment plan as well. It's $369 if you want to pay it all up front. If you want to pay a payment plan, it's $123 to get started. And you can, Lizzie, will that be in the chat box for people to check out? Awesome.
Yep, I just added it in.
Okay, perfect. So it's in the chat box for you. And if you have any questions at all, of course, ask me. I'm here for you. And if you purchase the next 72 hours, so I have this big Reels crash course guide that I made. It's a 7-page PDF. It basically, here's a little like preview. It has like everything about like Reels controls that go through them, what to include in your Reels, like little just tricks about how to interact with the algorithm to get your reel to have as much engagement as possible. So it's a really nice PDF I made for you. Okay, so we'll go on to my top 10 Instagram tips. Lizzie, are there any more questions for like a mini question break, or should I just keep going?
You can keep going. There's quite a bit of just interest about reels in general. We had Susan actually say, please host a webinar just about reels with Fi type of thing. So potentially
I
that's
just
coming.
did it. I just did. I mean, if someone's really interested, I'm putting up my reels. It was a 2-hour workshop just last night. We had a really great workshop, and I'm putting it up. If you want to buy the recording, I can drop the link in if you guys are really interested in we dug into reels, and we had some really interesting back and forth. It was a small group of like just people in the wellness industry, like healers, yoga teachers. Okay, so I will move on to my top 10 Instagram tips. So when you create reels, I will tell you this, creating reels that are 8 to 11 seconds long are the best for engagement, so short and sweet. If you say, okay, I want to talk about like my top, my favorite 3 yoga poses, for stretching the hamstrings, for example, you think, there's no way I'm going to fit that in 30 seconds. You can do something like this. You can do, here are the best 3 hamstring yoga poses, part 1, and then part 2, and then part 3. So you can split it into 3 and do like sort of a series. And that way it'll keep your reel like within a good amount of time, and it'll still provide value. If you are going to shoot a reel that is 30 seconds, make sure that you load it with value throughout, because reels are sort of the answers to like really, really short attention spans, because people have, really short attention spans. This is like why we meditate and do yoga. So it's good to really to start really quickly with a reel and to continue to provide value throughout. So you want people to engage immediately and you want them to stay watching. Okay, tip number 2 is collaborate with people in your field or industry. You can do this by, doing like a real life webinar or workshop with people, which I love personally to do. You can go live with 2 to 4 people now on Instagram. Here's a growth hack. If you do 3 reels per week and you go live with 3 other people once a week, you will grow. Like, talk to me in 6 months and we can celebrate you growing, because those are 2 new features right now on Instagram, and Instagram always rewards you for adopting new features, because it's sort of like training its users to use what the app looks like and how it's going to behave in the future. So definitely collaborate with people in your field, or you can just just give thanks to people who support you, your past collaborators. Like, it is social media, so be social and be gracious. If you hear that, that's my dog, and I apologize. Henry, stop. Okay, so tip number 3 is optimize your profile for search. This was a relatively new feature that Instagram talked about in the last, I would say, 6 to 8 months. My goodness. I don't know if you can hear that, but that's very loud on my end. Okay, so I'm going to show you like an Instagram bio anatomy, and this is just mine, so that you can take a look. So number 1, is your Instagram handle. So make sure that you have something in your handle that tells people what you do. I am a yogi. Like, I haven't taught yoga in a few months, but at my heart and like in my core, I'm a yogi, and I try to go back to yoga philosophy like through my business. Like, I always go back to it, and because that's what like grounds me. So Shaky Yogi is my name, and I wouldn't want to put something super random when what I do is marketing and help yoga teachers and wellness industry people. Number 2, it says my name, and then I say yoga and marketing, because when people go into the search feature, it's more likely that I will show up because I put those keywords there, yoga, marketing, right? So number 3 is your bio. Bio is like sort of a weird, it's weird that we call it a bio because it's not your biography. It is how you help your audience. So your bio, talk less about yourself, talk more about how you can help the people that you serve in your bio. And number 4, I always like to put a call to action. So why are people clicking on your link in bio? Entice them, tell them what it is and how it can help them versus just dropping in your website. Okay, tip number 4, user-generated content builds trust. And I will show you an example. So user-generated content is a fancy way of saying like content that other people besides yourself are putting out there. It builds trust because it gives people an opportunity to see like, oh, other people are talking about how great you are. That's always going to hit better than you talking about how great you are. And it also builds FOMO because, and that's like just sales psychology, because, you know, if everybody's friends are doing something and they're talking about how great it is, someone's more likely to want in. So here's an example I have. Lush Cosmetics, at least in the US, uses almost like, I think more than 50% of their posts are their users using their products. And that's so smart because one, you do less, their social media person is like doing cartwheels because they have to not generate as much content because other people are submitting it to them already. And two, like it builds trust and they can, you know, work with influencers or like just regular people. And, you know, I bet these people are stoked that they made it on the Lush Cosmetics Instagram, so they're going to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like it builds that like little microcosm of like trust. All of these people's friends see it. They're more likely to buy Lush Cosmetics because they're like, oh yeah, my friend like Steven really likes their mask. Let me like, you know, let me check it out versus like something random, like plucking a random cosmetics company from like their brains. Okay, tip number 5, I already talked about this, go live. Live is, you know, not the most comfortable thing, I am aware, like people get scared about going live. But I will tell you, and I say this all the time, it took me months before I could even tolerate the sound of my own voice. Forget video, okay? I was cringe at my own voice for months. It gets better. You just keep doing it and be compassionate with yourself. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to be polished. Like if you're following someone online right now that makes you feel like crap or starts that comparison syndrome, immediately unfollow. You do not have time for that. Immediately unfollow. So go live with people that you trust and plan ahead of time, like you're doing a little mini webinar or something. Like, what are you going to talk about? Lay out your question and answers, and you can like do a little interview and already know your questions and already know your answers if that helps you. Like I am a planner and that helps me, and that's like a really easy win for me to know what questions and answers are going to happen and then basically just rehearse it when I go live with someone. Okay, tip number 6, post content that is useful to your followers. I talked about this a little bit. Anything that educates, inspires, or entertains them. And with yoga, you know, like we can do anything as far as like anything, breaking down like poses, yoga philosophy, decolonizing the wellness industry, like anything like that. Inspirational, you know, if you post a quote, which I see a lot too, like give it context. Why did that quote, like, why did it hit you? Putting just a quote with no context is not going to be as powerful as bringing it back to like why and how it affects you. And anything entertaining, like that could just be like a funny meme or something. That's okay. People want to be entertained as well as educated on the internet now. Okay, and tip number 7, like give your followers love. Like, do you really know your community? Do you know like what your fellow yoga community is doing? Like if someone whose studio just closed down, if someone just transitioned to online, if someone, you know, has an injury, like if someone hasn't done yoga for a while and is just getting back into it, if someone just discovered like yoga tune-up balls, I mean, get to really know authentically and spend time knowing, you know, your followers and building that like bubble of trust, because some of these people, like, you can actually get to know very well, and it's very rewarding. And some of like my Instagram people, I have not even met them on like in person, but they like cheer me on so much, and it feels really good. That's where social media is not like, you know, toxic, bad. Like, yes, it can be all of those things, but when you carve out like a bubble of like authenticity and like community and like support, that's where it's really rewarding. And if you can do that and make a business that's sustainable, like, bravo, like, I applaud you. That's the goal. Okay, so tip number 8, make reels from old content that performed well. Like, you can go into your insights, look at your old posts and see, like, you know, what posts have the most saves from the last year. That's a good one as a starting point. If you remember like a particular post did really well, you can literally make that into a reel. Or you can do the opposite. Like, if you made a reel, if you're like experienced in reels and you're comfortable, if you made a reel and you think it did really well, why don't you transfer that information into like a carousel post? So reusing content is like a way, like a strategy for like social media experts to, otherwise we'd get no sleep. Like, you can reuse your content. Not everybody, we'd like to think that everybody sees our content when we put it out once. They do not. Like, put that content into a newsletter, into a blog, into your Instagram caption, and make your life easier by reusing content, because not everybody's going to see it the first time, especially when you're selling something. You know, don't feel like you're bothering people. The people that see it multiple times are probably your biggest fans, and it's not going to bother them, and they're going to be cheering you on when they see you like putting something out there. Okay. Tip number 9, ditch the followers that absolutely aren't your ideal client. So if you see some followers that look really spammy, or they don't have like anything on their profile, or they look just like very like spam accounts, you can remove them from your followers, because it's just fluff. I would not go in and like erase everybody that doesn't look like your ideal client, because people can surprise us. But if there's just some that are obviously like spam accounts, or just like really old, or, you know, you can go ahead and remove them. That will increase your engagement rate, because you don't have people that are on your followers list that are not engaging with you. Okay, number 10. I hear this a lot too. This is a pain point. Like, I use hashtags, but I only like, my bubble on social media is only like other yoga teachers. Well, maybe you need to go look and start using hashtags that your ideal client is using, instead of the hashtags that your other yoga teachers are using. So think about, like, you know, where your client hangs out online, or what hashtags your client might use, or what they might search, versus like what other yoga teachers might search. Like, try to get into their brains, and that might help you. Okay, so let me know which one resonated with you the most. You can type the number in the chat, or type out like what tip in the chat resonated with you the most. I'm curious to hear if you guys had any light bulb moments. And okay, here is where to find me. I'm leaving plenty of time for some questions. So that's me. I decided to put this picture in because I feel like everybody feels like this sometimes. But yeah, I'm on Instagram. If you want to join my newsletter, I put lots of stuff on Instagram, and I go a little bit deeper in my newsletter. I like to reward people that sign up for my newsletter. So if I put something on Instagram, I will typically go a little bit deeper in my newsletter. And you can always send me an email if you have like any questions or want to connect. You can definitely email me. And again, the 3-hour breakthrough bundle is what I'm offering for you guys. It's $148 to start. And you get a free bonus if you purchase in the next 72 hours. And I would love to talk to you one-on-one, and we can set out a plan for, leveraging your social media and aligning it with your business goals. Okay, so Q&A time. Let me go ahead and check these questions. Lizzie, is there anything you want to hit me with?
Yeah, lots of great questions from all of you. hopefully we can get through the majority, but if we don't, we can send them to Fi and she can kind of give her little spiel and we can add them to uh, the blog post that we will be posting tomorrow. So um, I have a few questions so far. So we've answered those. Just go. There's so many good ones. So this one I thought was a good point. How do you make sure your content is accessible for all communities? For example, the blind community.
Okay, so there's a couple things you can do. You can now put alt text into your Instagram posts. I would just Google that, like adding alt text. And basically what that does is it's when, like for example, if you ever had a really bad internet connection and your pictures weren't loading, if you saw like a little like caption that said like, girl on cell phone taking a selfie, that is an example of alt text. It stands for like alternative text, I believe. I'm not an SEO expert, but I believe that's what it stands for. And that's how I would do it. I'm not positive like how the blind actually uses that, but I do know that that's an option. Two, you can add captions. Now you can, Instagram lets you auto generate captions, I believe, for IGTV videos. You can toggle that on. And you can, if you're making a reel, you can put like text at the bottom that is basically like subtitles for what you're saying. So I would definitely do that.
Awesome, thank you. Another question. So how many accounts should be tagged ideally? More than 18 will freeze the account is what they have heard.
Okay, I'm not sure about freezing, but I do know that I was tagging last year. I tagged quite a few accounts that I was trying to just like promote, and some of my like people didn't get a notification because Instagram probably thought I was spamming people. What I would do is tag the people who are directly related to that post. Some people will use a strategy where they will like tag me in a post like randomly because it's like they're in Delray Beach. I live in Delray Beach, and I'm like, why are you tagging me? So that is a little spammy because unless you're related directly to that post, there's no reason to tag that person. Um, yeah, I would say like just make your content exciting enough and interesting enough for people to want to look at it. But yeah, I'm not sure the exact number. I tagged 10 people in a reel the other day and it was fine. And those people I was like just blasting out and saying you should support these businesses. So I would say 10 is probably a good number.
Mm-hmm. So a question from Dee, she just added this in there, and I think this is a great question for where your audience is and where you should be posting. So her audience is fit women over 50. They are not big on Instagram. Should I spend a lot of time here? Should I use Facebook more?
Yeah. The biggest users of Instagram are like younger people, like millennials. So I would say if your audience isn't there, go where your audience is. Facebook is very pay to play right now with Facebook pages. So if you are active on your Facebook page, probably not a lot of people are seeing it. If you do ads, then if you do them right, then yes. I would start a Facebook group, and before you start a Facebook group, I would put together like sort of a plan for what you want to talk about for the next like I don't know month or so if you can hang it or if you can swing it, and then start a Facebook group and consistently post content again that people find like valuable, like educational, entertaining, inspirational, so that you get that conversation going, and that's where people will organically see your stuff on Facebook. But yeah, go where your audience is. You don't need to use Instagram if your audience isn't here.
Mm-hmm. I thought that was a good thing because not everyone is on Instagram, so it's
Yeah.
a good thing to keep in mind. Um, a question came in, so this is talking about hashtags again. Elena said, I recently heard that hashtags are no longer a very effective strategy. She hasn't heard very much about this, or she hasn't looked into this too much, but just wanted your thoughts on it.
Yeah, I mean they are still an effective strategy, but like I said, like do not hang your hat on like just hashtags. The most important thing is your content and your engagement. So that is priority. But yeah, hashtags are still, they still work. They've made a difference in my account when I went from like using about 10 hashtags per account or per post to 30. And if Instagram did not want us to put 30 hashtags, they would limit us to like 10. Like we play by their rules. So if you have the ability to do up to 30, why not max it out?
Mhm. Awesome. Another came in. So, what are your best strategies for getting people from IG, Instagram to your email list so you can kind of talk to them directly?
Cool. Okay, I would make a cool lead magnet, like a PDF or a video, anything that you think your audience needs, and then talk about it on your Instagram. You can put it in your story, you can post about it, talk about, I will often, when I have a newsletter going out, put it on my story with a question box and say, hey, today's newsletter, we talk about, the last thing I did was like 5 Reels myths. And then I said, do you want this in your inbox? Drop your email below. And I usually get a couple of people that will give me their email addresses, and then I will forward that email to them. So that's how I would do it. Just promote it on your Instagram and then put the link in bio to sign up for your newsletter, and then give them that freebie as a, like, once they sign up, respond. The email that they get in response has that freebie contained in it.
Yeah, creating that lead magnet will be able to help you out a lot. And we have
Yes.
information and education about lead magnets too. So check out byogi.com
Awesome.
or Shaky Yogi. So another question. So this is totally a strategical way for Instagram, but this question she's asking, I've heard you should engage on Instagram, liking and commenting on other posts about 15 minutes after you post to help boost your post. Is this a best practice? Do you have any other recommendations for strategies like that?
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely do that. You can do it before you post, after you post. You can do it like just 15 minutes a day if you have it. Um, but I will say, if you are engaging, like, I would probably start with like your followers. Like, are there followers out there that you have that are just not engaging with you anymore? And see if you can go in to that list first versus like random people, because your followers are already following you. So they're a little bit warmer than like trying to go out there and like interact with like random people on Instagram, because Instagram is so, it's like a huge universe. So that's where I'd probably start. Yeah, I mean, you can spend like, a few minutes like looking at stories, and maybe you want to slide to the right to see the stories that show at the end for you. So stuff, people, that accounts that you interact with the least. And then, go into your followers and just see if you can interact with their latest posts, comment. I would say comments that are authentic and thoughtful are the best way to engage. And then, responses to stories, DMing people, and, not pitching them, just DMing them and like, telling them congrats on their yin certification or something. I literally did that this morning because there's someone who is a friend of a friend. She's in my community. And I said, wow, that's really cool. Like, congrats on your yin certification. And she wrote back and said, thank you so much. I've been meaning to message you. I wanted part of your work. I wanted in on your workshop. Can I still buy it? And that would have not happened if I hadn't engaged with her. And that was literally just me making conversation, because I was like, can I come to your yin class, please? So it works.
Oh, that's such a great example, um, reaching out like that. It's not difficult, and it could make or break something. Another question, so generally about reels, how do you make a reel from a static post?
How do you make a reel from a static post? I think that was maybe in reference to something I talked about earlier. So you would, so it wouldn't be directly like making a reel
Mhm.
from a static post. It would be taking the topic that you talked about in a static post that was like a hot topic for your audience, and then shooting a fresh, like starting over, shooting a fresh reel on that same topic, and talking about it, basically talking about it in a Reels format, because that's obviously something that your audience needs from you.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going with that was, um, you're not necessarily making a video from a static picture. You're using the idea from it. So thank you. Another question. Sorry, I'm scrolling through the chat. So if I missed your question, you can add it to the chat again. So there is a question about content, and you did talk about memes and things like that, but what is the variation should you do? Should you do mostly memes, mostly education? So yeah.
So I will literally just go through my strategy. I'll say like one post that's a no post. So anything that anything that gets your audience to know you better, like an introduction, like go make a reel that's like 5 things you didn't know about me. Go do that this week. It will do well. Like people want to know you, and that's why like people are like I'm always like the secret sauce is you, boo. Like people want to know you and your personality. That's the most sometimes the most valuable thing. So don't underestimate yourself and your value on social media. So anything that gets your audience to know you better, so anything that gets your audience to like you more, anything that's relatable, a struggle that you've had, how you built your business, something unexpected, a vulnerability post. Like I said, don't air your dirty laundry, but you can be vulnerable online if that's comfortable for you. Trust, anything that gets your audience to trust you more. So anything that proves that you're an expert in your field. And sell. So put your offer out there. Tell people who it's for, how it's going to transform their lives. Yoga has transformed my life. It's transformed probably everybody in this room. So, there's people out there that need your help. I think yoga teachers are definitely healers. So that's how I do it. Know, like, trust, sell. And I just cycle through that for the most part.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you. Um, Susan, I've seen this question, so thank you for reminding me. So she asked, what is the best stand? So your recommendation, but what's the best stand/tripod to use to make your videos go live? Anything like that.
Okay, I'm gonna show it so I don't blast you guys. This is an awesome ring light that I use. You see that it's sort of like snaky, and my heavy phone with its case fits in here, which is great because I don't want to take my cell phone out of the case every time I put it into my reel. Into my ring light. It's pretty sturdy. I got it on Amazon for about, I believe, like $60. And Lizzie, if you want, I can send you the link. And if you want to pop it into like the blog post, I highly recommend a ring light. Any post that you have like a picture, reel, etc. Make sure you're well lit because you don't want to look like you're telling a campfire tale. You want to look presentable, approachable, and light is going to like psychologically help you do that.
Awesome. Yes, definitely send that over and I can include that. Another question came in. What is the preferred approach to make a post with words? Do you use Canva or do you have any other softwares and things like that you use to make your posts?
Yeah, I love Canva. I think I'm an affiliate actually because I love it so much. I got a pro account. I think it was like 120 for the year. And you get access to all of their stock images too, which is like just really, really valuable. And I can send that link too as well, but I would definitely do it in Canva. I'm not a graphic designer. I went to art school and I've worked very closely with designers like in marketing firms, but I am not a graphic design expert. So Canva works really well for me. But I would also like Canva does this thing where it's a lot of one-offs. So I would say if you use Canva to make graphics or words, you can use the same or similar templates over and over again because that builds it makes it look cohesive versus just like super random templates that don't relate to each other. And that's just branding.
Okay, so last question. We have until we'll wrap it up, but we see a lot of questions about the verified check mark, the blue check mark that every influencer has. Can you explain that process and if it's useful? What does it look like?
So verification like won't do anything as far as like increasing your like your engagement or where you are on someone's timeline. Verification, I think there's a lot of factors, but if you have like press about you in various like if you've been in various like publications or press, I think that's like part of like the verification process. I honestly like I wouldn't make it a goal. If I never got verified, it doesn't mean that I don't have a successful business. Like frankly, like all of my business, most of it comes from Instagram, or like my real life organic community, like in person. So I wouldn't put that as I wouldn't make it a goal, but usually verification comes from like someone who's gotten like a lot of press, publications, etc., and that's how you do it.
Awesome.